crosswinds, crashes, and a Trek master plan in the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift Stage 2. Lorena Wiebes won Stage 1 yesterday, which was the sprint on Champs-Élysées. This was the first sort of road stage where we expected possible GC gaps. There was a threat of crosswinds on the stage, very, very exposed, and the uphill finish was pretty punchy, like 600 meters, 4.5%, 5%. They did a lap of the finish line beforehand. They take a good look at it, the riders, and you can see when you look at this, what do you see? What do you see when you see this? Flat, open, exposed. We know from races like Paris-Nice, the early stages, just like in this race, with the wind over 20 kilometers an hour in the right direction, there can be a threat of crosswinds. And that's what we got today. Nervous peloton. Wiebes herself in the yellow jersey at the front, trying to stay in front position, breakaway up the road, but only with a 1 minute advantage when TV coverage started, and they would get eaten into so fast because of Trek Segafredo. This is a familiar sight. You remember from Gent-Wevelgem 2021, they could have won that race with a team effort in the crosswinds. They got Van Anrooy, Van Dijk, Elisa Longo-Borghini, Cordon Rigaud, Grace Brown's mixed up in here as well. They're trying to create an echelon, put people in the gutter. That's why they're keeping it tight, and they did exactly the same thing at Gent-Wevelgem last year to great effect. They didn't get a split at this point, but yeah, it's putting people in the gutter. Riders are getting dropped off the back, and so there's obviously crosswinds at play. And this is what Trek have to do, because Van Vleuten, once we get to the mountains, she's almost unbeatable. Yeah, pretty much is unbeatable. So you need to try something different when you have the team strength, when you got someone like Van Dijk or Elisa Longo-Borghini. And then it was DSM trying to stay at the front with Marlon Reusser. Could they get Wiebes to the finish? She might not win, but could she keep the yellow jersey? Balsamo, surely a stage for her after a disappointing stage yesterday. Bike exchange, maybe going for Alexandra Manley, and just a stage for Van Vleuten to get through without any issues, because there were crashes aplenty. 30Ks to go onwards. Unfortunately, there were loads of crashes, really narrow roads, riders fighting for position, trying to move up, slowing down, then the peloton accelerating. Van der Dun was able to actually attack, just managed to sneak up the gutter and get away, and this would be a massive help for her. You'll see later after the intermediate sprint, but unfortunately, there was a really big crash that took out Marta Cavalli, and the FDJ rider, who did get back on her bike but then had to abandon the race. She came in as maybe one of the only riders outside of Vollering who could genuinely threaten Van Vleuten for GC in this race, and a really, really scary crash for her. As I said, got back on the bike but then abandoned. Hopefully she's okay after the race and can recover fast. But yeah, the road furniture, the narrow roads, the narrowing of them, and the nervousness in the crosswinds just meant there were so many crashes today. And here's the intermediate sprint. SD Works are going for the green jersey right now. Lotte Kopecky trying to get her maximum points, 25 points on offer, although actually no, sorry, Van der Dun would take the most points. From the bunch, it's also Confalonieri, I think, for Sarah Tizet. Wiebes takes maximum points from the bunch, ahead of Kopecky, ahead of Voss. But then, watch here. See Elisa Balsamo just accelerated, and then she looks behind. She looks behind for Elisa Longo-Borghini, and maybe for Cordon Rigaud. She's trying to create a split over the intermediate sprint, and I guess take Annemiek van Vleuten by surprise. And you can see it's a plan, because the second look back as well by Balsamo is to see, have they got a split, are the right riders in the split, and they catch up to Van der Dun, and it's Balsamo pulling. And so maybe we should have known earlier, but this was seemingly. I thought maybe it was not a GC play, and it was Balsamo thinking we need to get away from Lorena Wiebes, and she's got more of a chance of beating Mariana Voss, and she's got Elisa Longo-Borghini in the group who can help pull for her. Ludwig was caught behind crash, I think, with Marlon Reusser, and in these narrow roads, she would lose big time today. And so we've got a group of Niewiadoma, Longo-Borghini, Balsamo, Voss, Van der Dun, and Persico, who's actually quite fast for Valcar. She's like the backup sprinter when Consoni can't get over some hills. And in the crosswinds, that group is super strong, and the only issue for it was they didn't have SD Works represented in the group, but they weren't really helping this group. They had Reusser behind, and I think Vandenbroek Black, two big engines. Reusser's here with Ludwig, and so Demi Vollering was pretty reluctant to help out Norsgaard, who's now sacrificing her result to pull this gap back for Annemiek van Vleuten. And then Vollering kind of surges and then gets caught by maybe Pfeiffer Georgie, and then it slows down again. And so that wasn't really helpful for the chase. DSM with the main team chasing, a bit of help from Liv for Barbieri. But we got our answer about Trek's plan here. Elisa Balsamo, this is not the facial expression or the work you'd expect of a sprinter hiding or recovering in the group, like Voss maybe was trying to do, whilst her teammate in the group, Longo Borghini, tries to pull the group to the line, and then Balsamo can go for the sprint. It was almost the opposite. And so when we get to the final, we see that Balsamo is pretty much going to pull off. There was a crash for Evita Muzic right in that last, I think, 1,500 meters, but Balsamo pulls off. No real green jersey points for her. Maybe she didn't have the legs. I mean, she had pretty good legs to create a split from the peloton in the intermediate sprint. And Elisa Longo Borghini attacks. And I think for GC, but then slows down, and now there's finessing, so now they're losing time for GC. Nuvia Doma goes to the front, and Marianne Vos, killer instinct, made the group, was strong in the group, pulling, didn't shirk her responsibility, and she knows if she sprints and starts it at the same time as Persico and Nuvia Doma on a punchy finish like this, there can only be one winner. Marianne Vos winning the stage, takes also the yellow jersey because Vibes doesn't obviously take any bonus seconds and would lose, I don't know, best part of 30 seconds on the stage too. So a huge second stage for Marianne Vos ahead of Persico, Nuvia Doma third, Longo Borghini fourth, Van der Duen fifth, two top tens in a row. Then Vibes, De Wilde, Barbieri, Kopecky ninth, and Confalinieri 10th. Here's what Marianne Vos had to say after the stage.
We knew we had to be focused, we had to be alert also on the bell lap with one lap to go, because it got narrow and the wind played a role, but actually I didn't expect that we would break away and would stay away, but yeah. Like yesterday, the team did a perfect lead out for the Champs-Élysées, and now they brought me perfectly into this bad lap to the sprint, and yeah, and then Elisa Balsamo attacked, and apparently it was the moment to go.
But some big shake-ups in GC. Ludwig would lose a lot of time. Cavalli's unfortunately out of the race. Vollering is now on about 27 seconds to Longo Borghini. Van Vleuten maybe 32 seconds. She lost, I think, 5 seconds in the final sprint. Not huge gaps for Van Vleuten. Once we get to those mountains, she can make that up. But still, a sign of maybe things to come, or hopefully to come in the next few stages. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you with a recap of the one tomorrow. Ciao.